Good afternoon, everybody, and it is just good afternoon. Normally it would be 1 o'clock, but today it is 12 o'clock. My name is Helena, and I am one half of Speaker Insight, where we help speakers, authors, and coaches to really build a portfolio business, but on your terms, which means you get to run it how you like to run it. And we do like to invite wonderful people in. So we've got the lovely Dee Woodward joining us, but I'm going to talk to you first and let you all join in and say, hey, if you are not yet in the Connection Hub, we would love for you to be in the Connection Hub. So if you're watching this on the inside the Speaker Insight portal, then please do come and join us inside the Connection Hub, because it is a place where we've got 11,600 or so wonderful souls, people who supply, people like Dee, who actually make speakers, authors, and coaches absolutely kind of stand out in the world, but also the speakers, authors, and coaches themselves. We have on average sort of 4 or 5 opportunities shared nearly on a daily basis now, where you can get those gigs and connect with people who are like-minded that you might do collaborations with. There is all sorts of things going on in there, lots of education, lots of connection. So please do come and join us in there. Now, for those of you who are joining us live, I can see one of you is certainly here right now. As you can tell, I am driving the show without Kelly. So there is a lot going on and several moving parts that are actually going off. So many of you join us live, obviously. And so please say hello. Tell us where you're listening in from. We do like that. There's a nice global audience here. Dee, where are you at the moment?
I'm just north of Bristol, so not too far. I'm on the edge of the Cotswolds, if you want to say it in a nicer way. It sounds a bit more posh.
Is that you going for the posh version?
Yeah, it depends. Yeah.
I totally love that. So tell us in the comments, whether you're listening in the Connection Hub. Hello, am I in the right mode? Oh, I don't actually know what that means. Are you in the right mode? I'm quite if that means you're listening live, then I can see you listening live, and that's very exciting. So I don't know what you mean by the right mode. Let me know what you mean by the right mode, and I'll let you know whether you are. How about that? That's all fun. So we had some fun and games just before we actually joined, all sorts of internet disasters and pictures falling over in various ways. So you can imagine that life is just settling in here. Now, we're going to kick you off. Today we're really talking about when to plan your brand if you haven't yet done so, or indeed for those of you who are maybe just thinking, is it really me? Does it reflect who I am now? Maybe you had it done a little while ago. So when should you actually look to rebrand? So let us know where you are, what you're up to, and also, how do you feel about your brand? Are you brand proud, or kind of a little bit like, oh, not really sure I want to share it right now because it doesn't represent me? We'd love to know. But of course, we're always going to kick you off with the old what's the buzz? Am I in the speed? Right. Okay. You are currently in the Connection Hub by the looks of things. So that is absolutely delicious, and glad to have you here. And that is completely fine. You can join us either way. But when you're inside the Connection Hub, that's where all the conversation takes place. So that's actually the better place to be, because you get the joy of all of the other people that are in there. So I'm going to ask you, as you're here, what is the buzz in your business? What's exciting? What's happening? What's actually going on that you want to share with the world? Share us your links. Tell us you've been on a podcast. Tell us you're going on one. What is happening? So, yeah, I know. Doesn't it? It's like, yes, please, thank you very much. Now, the buzz from Kelly and I, as I say, she can't be here with us today, but we are very excited. Our buzz is that next week inside the Connection Hub, but certainly going live on Speaker Insight as well, we are actually kicking off whenever we hit a milestone, and when we hit the 11,000 mark, we introduce yet another feature. And the feature that we're actively introducing right now is the Clarity and Connection networking sessions. Now, they are really exciting. So it's your chance, essentially, to network and connect with only 6 people. So it's nice and exclusive, that actively allows you to get seen by those 11,600 people that are in the group, for sure, but also get clarity on an issue that you've got, or indeed connect people with and to the projects that you're working on and the things that are, it's like an extended buzz in your business, but a real kind of chance to really show up and share what you're up to in the world. Because we love to have a platform for change makers to actively do their thing. So this is our latest feature. There is still, I think, one spot left for next week. So come and join us, and be a little bit brave. For some of you, that might actually be the little bit brave, but that's what we'd love for you. So that's the buzz in our business. So I've put the link in below, and you can, if you're listening on Speaker Insight, just come into the Connection Hub and you'll see it in there, because obviously we want to make that as much for our members as possible. So Dee, what's the buzz in your business?
Well, first of all, I have to say though as well, how professional with all these nice little segues and intro bits that you've got going on, and dropping your link in the comments. Who'd have thought we were having pictures falling over and tech dropouts just moments ago? None of these problems. Yeah. Well, the buzz in my business at the moment, first of all, on a personal note, my little boy has started school for the first time. So he's gone into reception this 2 weeks, which means from a business perspective for me, all of a sudden, I've got so many more hours back in my business, which I have kind of missed. I've missed working all of the hours under the sun, but it's been great, because I went through the burnout years ago with the whole working all of the hours, and it was good for me to have that time out and really be able to build my business to a place where I could take the time out whilst the kids were younger. But now they're heading into school life, and I'm excited to be able to get some more hours back in the day. So I've brought back something that I haven't run now for, I think it's about 18 months or so since I've done one of these events. So I'm really excited to bring it back. And it's my Brand Together event. I think it was we were going into the COVID world when I last ran one of these events. And it was a really great event to bring everyone together to talk about your brand and to really do the brand work together over a kind of 5-day, 1 week, and a couple of extra days over the weekend, and that to really get all of those brand questions that you need answered and to go through some of the real fundamentals of building your brand. So I'm really excited that I get to bring that back, and that's happening not next week, the week after. So yes, very excited. Well, that's all the buzz going on for me right now.
And I can't recommend it enough. Sort of working with you is a complete joy. Obviously, Kelly and I run Changemaker Central, which is where we help speakers, authors, and coaches to really run, manage, and grow their business. And we have a set of 12 partners, and Dee is one of those partners. So we love the work that you've done with some of the people in there, and there might even be some little shares around how that works and everything. But there are obviously some people who may not know of you. So if you haven't said it yet, whether you're on the replay or not, are you currently out and loud and proud about your brand and the story that it tells? Or are you at that stage where you're thinking it's time for an update? Because that's really why we invited Dee along, is to really think about, when do you need to think about this? Because it is an investment of time and energy. And when we say on your terms, we really talk about it taking time, energy, resources, money, and skills, right? So that's part of, we want to help you make that decision around, is it working for me, or what is working for me, what isn't working for me? So we thought we'd come and pick Dee's brains for today, and that kind of work. So tell us in the comments, and if you've got any questions around your brand, I'll segue those in between the questions that we're talking about here. We love to natter, so we just need to be careful about that one, right? So let us know that you're here and what your questions actually are. So first off, there are obviously people who don't know you, Dee. I mean, we know you very, very well, but for the people who are in the hub or sort of watching right now, tell us a little bit about, who are you, what got you into branding, and what's different about your approach to branding? Because that's what we've got you here for, really, right?
Well, obviously I'm Dee Woodward, and I'm not sure there's ever been a time when I haven't been into branding in a particular way, whether I knew what a brand or branding was, from that kind of external perception of a brand. I may not have really realized that was what I was into, but from the internal workings of brand and branding, that the psychology behind design is something that I've always really geeked out on. And we could talk about color psychology. We have done that before. We've talked about it for ages.
We have. We won't go into that.
because I studied, when I was at school, I loved psychology, and I loved that kind of side of behavioral sciences and things like that. So I was really interested in that, but I've always been a huge fan of design and art and being creative. And you're actually kind of come in, the way I kind of got into the brand side of things when I was doing kind of art and design and stuff is because I saw the way that working on your brand from an internal and an external perspective can cause such kind of ripples and changes in you personally, as well as professionally, as well as in your business. And it comes back to confidence. And confidence has been kind of this word that recently has popped up quite a lot for me whenever I'm talking about my own brand and the work that I do, because it's really, I found that when you work on your brand, it comes back to helping you build confidence in who you are, in the service that you provide, and helping you really create something that you want to show up for. Because if you're running a business, especially if you're a speaker and author, you're creating a personable brand. You're creating a brand that's very much based on you. And there can be times when that feels really draining, when you've got to show up all the time as the person that you need your brand to be. And there's a bit of a kind of confusion and distinction between, who you are and who your brand is. So that's what I love about really helping people connect to the you in their brand, doing it on your terms, as we like to say. We share that kind of language, that love for that side of things, and helping people really create something that doesn't just stand out. It's not about standing out. It's about standing up. I like to say kind of standing up for the work that you do. So creating a brand that supports you and supports your work so that you can really stand up and show the world how great you are using your kind of visual brand. So yes, showing up consistently, it can be really kind of hard until you've kind of got that something that you're so confident in that you can't really help but want to shout about it to everyone. That's what I love about branding. I think that's what makes my process slightly different in how I approach it.
Yeah, and really quite refreshing. It's interesting that you talk about that. So there's a couple of things that come up for me, certainly as we're talking. It's this concept that Kelly and I always talk about around there's you and there's your brand. So as a speaker or the coach, yes, you are the lighthouse. We like to call our change makers the lighthouses, that is sharing the light of and shedding the light on everything. But there's also the business, and you serve the business and the business serves you. So your brand is as much of an ambassador for what the entity of your business is as you are going out there and shining the light. And your brand can definitely be the thing that kind of makes you feel really proud around all of that. But what's also interesting for me around that is it of course brings up the timing thing, because there is a, well, when do I brand? Like, is it chicken and egg? What goes on? How does it work? And how do I actually know? So today, so we've done one other live with Dee. So I've actually put that in the link for you, which was what makes an awesome brand. So if you are at the starting stages, I'm about to ask Dee about that, because I want to break this apart a little bit. But if you are kind of at that stage where you go, okay, what makes an awesome brand? What am I even supposed to do around the thinking? Please do go and watch that interview that we did probably about a year ago now or so. All of the information in there is really relevant. But what showed up in a conversation we had recently was this thing around, when should you look to actually do your brand? So let's break it apart a little bit. So some of the people who join in the Connection Hub are new to speaking, authoring, coaching in their way. They're just kind of starting up. They started their new company. So talk us through what stage, at that stage of the business, what is it that they should start considering around their brand, and how should they go about it? Like, how soon should I brand?
Well, straight away. I mean, there's no reason not to brand, because branding, it's one of the reasons I love branding so much. I was always told that you should kind of niche. Everyone's always told you should niche when you first start in business. But actually niching into branding to me was the perfect way of being able to niche into everything, because it touches so many parts of your business and your life. I've got a cat clawing at the door. Does anyone mind if I just let my cat in? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
She's going to be clawing at the door, otherwise I'm just going to be, sorry, so unprofessional. She'll be jumping on my lap in a minute.
Always steal the show.
She's going to come and steal the show. She's like, you're live. I need to be involved in this. Why am I not on camera already? Here she is. But there we go.
Beautiful.
So I would say straight away, it doesn't matter how kind of new you are in the process of your business or your business journey, thinking about there's never too early of a time to start thinking about your brand. But it doesn't mean that you need to go and invest in a designer or go and, spend a load of money working with someone, because the design side of your brand, that visual part of your brand, is one stage of it, and that really comes last. Like, what you should start with is the basics, which are the kind of core questions. The cat's going to knock over my little lovely lamp now. The core question that you should really be asking yourself, which is, what do you want to be known for? And that's kind of like the basis level of branding. It's a simple question, but it's a really powerful question. And if you're going to be you're just starting out in business, sometimes it's going to take time. Sometimes if you're really, really new to what you do, then you may need time to really explore what you want to be known for. You may start a business, and I know I did this when I first started. I was very sure what I wanted to do, and I wanted to build a kind of traditional design style agency and do a lot of kind of that work. I was very sure about that when I started. It wasn't until I really got into practice of working with people that I started to realize, actually, I'm really more passionate about a particular side of the business. And then I realized that who I wanted to work with and what I wanted to be known for. And that evolved over time. So sometimes you just need a bit of time to get started. And so you don't really want to go straight out of the kind of what's the word? Straight out the gate.
Straight out the gate, yeah.
Yeah, out the gate. Spending lots of money on things, because it could be that actually given 6 months or a year, you may have evolved and changed that. And your brand should always be evolving with you, which is why I'm such a huge advocate of understanding the branding process yourself and really taking control of it for yourself as well. So yes, obviously hiring design and brand people at different stages is really important. But when you're in that early stage of business, getting to understand what branding is yourself and applying those principles in your business is probably the starting place, because there will be so much value that you will get out of understanding the branding process and taking yourself through it, being able to answer those questions, who you love working with, like who you hate working with even. Those are kind of some big questions that you need to understand, and that will help shape what your brand looks like. So if you understand that process, that will, you can do that to start with. You can then take yourself through every iteration of your business, understanding the process. And when it comes to the stage where you are ready to invest in somebody else doing that work for you, then you will also understand and know the process, so that you know how somebody should be guiding you through that. Of course, if you are in the early stages of business, but you know that you perhaps have been doing this for a while in a different lifestyle, so perhaps you've been doing it kind of corporately for a long time, and you know that actually this is what you're doing and you're starting a new business, but it's not really new because you've been in it for a long time, then perhaps you can kind of quick foot it and go and hire a professional straight away. But still understanding those core brand questions, the deep stuff, the internal workings of your brand, is such an important place to get started with, because your brand never starts with design. It always starts with those big questions.
It's really interesting, because Tim's just actually saying, in a sense, you brand as soon as you have any contact with anyone. That's how it works, right? And Sebastian's actually saying that we love our cats and dogs on the live. Mine are officially called chief cuteness officers, which I really really love, and it is all about that. So I think we've got this idea that, brand and more brand, and that implies, and your last comment also implies, that it's absolutely okay, because we grow and evolve, right? There's you and there's your business. Your business is going to start growing, you're going to grow, and eventually you might outgrow the brand that you started with, however you put that together, right? So for those people who are the more kind of established, if you like, and I do just want to say, Sebastian's actually sort of saying here, it's make it about your best skill, passion, and how it can solve an important problem for your client. It's 50% about you and 50% about your client, but it's about taking that and then actually translating that into a brand, which of course, the more you've been in business, the easier it is for you to understand the client, to understand the problems. So the question then comes in for those who have got those established businesses, and they feel like it needs a refresh or even a whole new rebrand. And I'd love to know your distinction about those two things for a start. Are there times of year that they should consider this? Is there, when is the best time to do that, Dee?
Well, I mean, now there is never a better time than just like no. When is there ever a best time to do something? I mean, if you are feeling in any way that your brand is not serving you as best as it could be, then that's a big warning sign that you need to do some work on it. If you're not attracting the kind of perfect people, or if the people that you are attracting perhaps are confused as to what it is that you do, or maybe you're not just making the kind of level of impact or income that you actually feel that you want to be able to, you want to kind of move to that next stage or level in business, then that's a perfect time to start doing the work on your brand. And yeah, as we talked before, it doesn't mean that you need to kind of burn everything down and completely start again.
No.
Your brand could rebranding, when it comes to the rebranding process, it could be making simple tweaks and changes and just making some updates and doing some really deep work on your brand to discover that perhaps some of your core messaging needs to change. Or it could be, some small visual tweaks and changes need to be made. It doesn't always have to necessarily be this huge change. You can kind of do step changes when it comes to the rebranding process. And that's where understanding kind of those core questions to start with and being able to recognize how much change perhaps you need to do, or where your brand isn't quite serving you, and which areas. Doing a bit of a brand audit is a good for an existing business to kind of start with. Do a brand audit, get kind of a sense and a feel for what it is that you actually need perhaps to change, or what you don't need to change. Feeling a bit stagnant in your business, and perhaps it's products and services that need to change. There could be many areas within your brand that could be looked at. So a brand audit's a really useful tool to start with, and it's one I always kind of advocate that people do. And we are going to do that actually in the Brand Together event next week. I'm going to take people through my brand audit, because I think it is a great tool for any business owner to just have.
You keep talking, there's some buzzing going on.
We're off. Yeah, so doing a brand audit is a really great place to kind of get started, because it will help highlight the potential kind of gaps within your business and your brand at the moment. And as I say, your brand kind of covers everything. It's not just the way that you look. It's not just the copy and the content that you're sharing. It's not just the messaging that you're sharing. It's your products, it's your services. It really weaves into every area of your business. So if you are already an established business and you feel that something's not quite right within your brand, doing a brand audit is a really great place to start, so that you can identify, okay, which areas do we need to pay attention to first? And then you can make those step changes if you need to. Or it could be that you're at that stage where actually chuck it all up in the air, see what comes down. You do need to maybe burn it down a bit and start again. There's also absolutely nothing wrong with that. Nothing bad is going to happen if you have to destroy everything and start again. I can't count the amount of times I've actually deleted an entire email list because I wanted to change things up. The first time, I must admit, it was by accident. But I did find that actually nothing bad comes from removing your entire email list and starting from scratch again. Sometimes a blank canvas is the best place to start.
Amazing. And that's probably starting a whole can of worms. My apologies for I knew the buzzing would continue forever and ever if we didn't leave it. But I think there's something really brave, and potentially for those listening, they might be going, oh my God, start over, start again. But the thing about that is you have a better idea of what the problems are. You still know who the avatar is that you're working with and not. You may well be going through an upgrade where what used to be your A grade clients are now your D or C grade clients, certainly. So within that, it gives you the perfect opportunity to arrive again in some way. And there probably is a little bit of, I think with any branding exercise, there's a little bit of courage and personal kind of delving that just allows you to show up in a way that really works. I know that when you've worked with several of so one of the things that we do inside Changemakers Central is definitely, we help people develop their frameworks so that they actually stand out, and they're able to share those core messages that you're talking about so much more easily, because they really are a stand for the brand and the entity that is their business, right? And so once we've actually done that with them, that's usually where we'll refer them through to you for a bit of a rebrand or a refresh that allows you to go, hey, here's something new in my business that allows allows you to also just take a look at the rest of the business. So that up leveling that you were talking about really is a key, isn't it?
It is, absolutely, yes. Yeah, and there's no better time to kind of re-evaluate, I suppose, your brand than when you are looking at your business structure and you're looking at your products and your services. That is a very good natural time to make any changes that you need to. Yeah.
We absolutely, you know, sort of we love it when people are actively paying attention to how am I showing up out in the world, what am I actually doing, and so you know, and what are the products that I've got kind of that I'm making, because when we do that up leveling, there's usually an impact on the products that you've got, the business model that you're actually working with, and as you say, it's about tying it all in together. So well, the question that arises for me, because I'm putting myself in the shoes of someone listening right now, is Dee, how long can that kind of process take?
With the process of rebranding, or actually when you've made the decision to rebrand, then
so tell us about those two distinctions.
Yeah. So well, I was going to say, if the process of actually going through a kind of a rebranding project, as it were, if you were to kind of come and work with me, for example, one-to-one, and we needed to go for your branding and you wanted to rebrand, within that set period of time, we would be obviously digging into the kind of your strategy side of things, first of all, and looking at your business strategy, looking at why you want to make these changes and how you want to make them. So there's a few weeks that go into the internal workings of understanding what brand you are creating, and then a couple of weeks that goes into the visual design side of things. Going through a rebrand process, the actual doing that work doesn't need to take a whole long time. Typically with my one-to-one private kind of clients, where they are going for like let's do this. I like working with action takers, so I like working within short periods of time. So to me, like a 4 to 6 week period to go through a rebranding process is typical. That's what we like to do. I like decisive action taken. I like it when people come to me with something that they needed changing yesterday. That's the energy of people I like to work with. So I like making those decisions, because as with everything, and especially with branding, and most people that I work with are in the online space, it's not like back in the days of having to go and get something printed and you needed to get everything set in, like carved out in stone and actually, you know, set, and you couldn't make changes once it had gone to press. There's so much space now to be able to tweak and change and evolve your brand. And I think that is a hugely important aspect of the kind of modern world of branding, as it were, is being able to understand and appreciate how decisions that you make now are going to make changes right away. But there's also going to be the ability to evolve and change these. So messagings might change slightly. New product launches come along within your brand, and you need to create new brand identities for them. Perhaps you segue into a slightly different targeted market, and that market your whole business doesn't need a rebrand, but you need to kind of create, you've got an umbrella brand all of a sudden, and then you've got product brands that are going to sit underneath. And each one of those doesn't need a full brand kind of package. You don't need to go out and pay somebody to go through the entire branding process with you again, because you've got your core brand. You're creating sub brands for it, for launches and for different kind of, you're creating a book and you're doing a book tour, say, or you're going to create a course based off of something that's already a part of your business. But it still deserves its own identity and its own thought process into going to connect with the right audience, so that you make sure that your messaging and your brand is on point for each of these little kind of spider webs of your core brand.
I mean,
sorry,
it's really
you're going to need to get
no. I know what you're like. I know what you're like, and I'm just going to go in there and like make sure that I can rein you in, and then come back out. So you know, because what I'm really hearing you say, and I think this is quite an interesting one, to actually have that identity of the core brand that you have, but then kind of what I'm hearing is that every brand, every product has its own little brand, because and that would tie in with what Kelly and I teach all the time around, you know, we've all got a user in our business model. We've all got a user journey that allows us to we have early stage products and we have later stage products. And actually every single one of those products has its own little identity. It has its own brand in itself, but that's married to the mother brand, the core brand, if you like, that's in there. So the question that really arises, and you've alluded to this, is that, you know, really, if we're launching a new product, our new baby's there, we've worked on, I don't know, that 3-month kind of product, or the 12-month, VIP thing that people have done, or it's a new online launch in itself. So would you consider, is that a good time to actually show up with a rebrand and or indeed a little refresh? Is that a good time or a bad time?
Absolutely, definitely a good time. I don't think there's ever a bad time to look at your branding and update your branding, but then that's what I love the most. So I'm always going to tell you it's a good time to look at it. But a product launch absolutely is a brilliant time for you to build kind of an event around whatever it is that you are launching, and being able to introduce a new brand style as part of that event is a perfect time, because you are already building awareness around what you want to introduce. You could do it in many different ways, obviously depending on what's going to suit you and your business and your audience. But being able to launch perhaps a product that maybe it looks completely different to your existing brand at the moment, because that your existing brand, for example, needs some work. But maybe it's more important right now to launch the new product than it is to do the full, let's look at our entire brand and rebrand all of our products and then launch a product. Because, urgency, sometimes you just want to get your product out there and, make some money. But also you just want to launch that, whatever that product is that you're creating. So you could do it that way around, create and launch the new product and then work backwards and update your brand. Sometimes the core brand. Sometimes you don't even need to make a song and dance about the fact that you're updating your core brand. I actually recently revised my logo mark, because there we go. Let's get into the definition and between the fact that your brand is not your logo. So I didn't make a song and dance about changing the logo, but the logo needed a refresh. When going back a couple of years, my website never even had a logo on it, because I was taking that big, making a mark in the pillar in there saying that your brand is not your logo, so you don't need a logo on your website. So I didn't have a logo for a while, but I needed to update it recently, because my messaging, my audience, my style had moved on again. And next I'm going into the next iteration of my business, which aligns naturally with, life, as things do. My life has changed. I'm going into the next level of kind of our family and stuff, school starting. That was a natural kind of time for me to review things and look at my own branding and go through my own brand process. It's always a little bit trickier to go through your own process, because you need, it's helpful if you've got someone holding a mirror up for you. When you've got to do it for yourself, it's a bit, but I've also got to practice what I preach and go through my own branding stuff. If I'm not going to use it on myself, then I can't advocate for other people to use it. So I've gone through my own brand process and I made a few little tweaks and changes, which you might notice, but most people probably won't notice, because it's not that far off. My core brand personality, my brand values have never really changed. It's just my audience has changed. So that's those two sides, the who you are, your business, and your personality, your brand, and who your audience is. And when that changes, sometimes you need to tweak and adapt your brand style as well to reach that next stage of audience. So that's one natural progression in developing your brand. And for that, I wanted to update my logo. Most people probably wouldn't have even uttered a blink at the fact that I changed my logo design. But to me, it needed to fit that new brand message, that new confidence within my branding, and that new level of people and services that I'm working with. So I updated my brand suite. It's still the same fonts, it's still the same colors, it's just slightly different visual techniques. And sometimes the littlest visual tweaks can make a huge impact. And that's what I love about the design side of the brand. So once we flip to the external workings of your brand and you look at the visuals and how you use colors and fonts and all of the gorgeous, beautiful, amazing imagery that you can kind of start to bring into your brand to just inspire people and to create that feeling that you want. Because of course, creating a brand is all about making people feel almost at home within your website or your visual presence or wherever you are showing up. You want kind of people to feel like they're at home, that they can come in, they can kick their shoes off, and they feel like this is the right place for them, that everything about your brand is talking the language that they love, whether it's the visual language or the verbal language. That's kind of what your brand is really there to help support your audience and to help make them feel that you are the right person for them and they are in the right place.
Which is so amazing, isn't it? And it's really interesting that you talk about the confidence piece in there, because the confidence piece is so, a big part of your brand is actually for you to walk out in the world and go, I feel proud to send you off to wherever I'm sending you off to. But a second piece is then actually a lot of new people arrive at your brand and they don't know what your old brand was. They're actually, seeing you with fresh eyes almost every time. And the chances are that even your current clients may not cats go to cat. That's how it works, right? And Royal Mail will do Royal Mail in that way. But I love this idea that, sort of like that actually our brand is for us and our brand is for them. So it's got this, Sebastian said it was 50-50, but I think it's 50-50 on an internal level for you more than even on an external level. It has that whole piece of, do I feel proud to send you to my new product launch or to my new product? Am I actually happy for somebody to go and check me out, that I'm consistently being present in the way that I want to be seen? Exactly. We do the what do you want to be known for and seen as, and it's exactly that question you asked, right?
Yes, that is, I mean, that's the big question. That's the huge question when it comes to branding. That's the one that everything comes back to. And yes, I know kind of like 50-50, I'm not sure if I would agree 50-50 with your brand being you and your customers, because I actually think that your customers is still your decision.
Nice.
So it's still you are choosing your customers. So it's never in their ballpark, because they don't know what they want really. You go out there and you ask people. That's what my bugbear absolutely is when people share something, anything to do with their business or brand online, and ask for external opinions. Unless that's there just as a kind of a way to get eyes on something that they've already made a choice about, then that's a different kind of tactic. And whether that's a good one or not, that's not the conversation. But it's just that when you are actually seeking multiple opinions outside of your business and brand for what your brand should look like, and even if you're going to who you think is your most perfect customer, they still don't know what it is that they need. And so it's you that gets to choose that. And you also get to choose who those customers are. So I could sell all sorts of different things to all sorts of different people. I've got multiple different skills. If I was just going based on what somebody's going to pay me to do for them, then I could be in a completely different line of business. I could be doing completely different types of projects. I kind of went that way when I started doing web design work at one point. And I love doing web design now from the branding side of things, but I taught myself code. I do not do coding.
That wasn't your cup of tea.
Doing the actual web development side of the design world is not for me. I have not got the patience for all of those little tweaks and things that you have to make. But that tech, as we saw when we were doing our little tech practice before, not for me. But I love the visual side of it. And so people do have different skills, but I could have very easily gone into just doing website design and development work. Because that's what people want to pay for. But it's not up to your customers what they buy from you. It's up to you what you sell to them.
Yeah. Which and is that why? So I'm going to throw this one at you, throw you for a little loop. Is that why you don't necessarily actually share a portfolio work on your website? I will share out Dee's website so that you can actually see it. But it isn't. Go on. Tell us a little bit about the logic behind that.
That was a brilliant way to bring back to that kind of question, because I know we've talked about this before, because I get asked all the time why I don't have a portfolio of design on my website. And I've been asked so many times about it that I was getting to the point where I was thinking, maybe I should have a design portfolio on there. But for me, creating design for your brand, especially branding, is such a personal journey for you. That I think when people choose a designer or a brand strategist to work with based on something that they've seen somebody else create, that is a dangerous place to start working on your business and your brand, because instead of coming with a fresh, clean plate and looking at exactly what you need in your business and working on your strategy for your business and how that you need to show up in the world, you're already clouding it with, I like what you did for so-and-so. I think I need a brand like that.
Right.
And so that's why I don't like having portfolios on my website, because I feel that people then come through going, I love what you did for so-and-so. Can you create that for me? And no, I can't create that for you, because I need to create what you need in your business for you. And if you're already coming at a project thinking that you need to design something in a particular way because it's worked for someone else, then you're going to come across a lot of harder barriers to jump over. So you almost need to come to things completely clear. And I love design templates in your business once you've already established your brand, but I really dislike the ease and availability of design templates that you can buy on Creative Market or Canva and all of those places, because it makes it too easy for people to go, oh, that looks really pretty, I'll use that. And a couple of years ago, every single female business owner seemed to have pink and rose gold in their branding, because at some point somebody launched a lovely, beautiful template set that had that. And then everybody looked the same. And sometimes perhaps actually maybe pink and rose gold could be perfect for your business, but you won't know that until you've done the kind of internal work first of all. So that's my long-winded answer for why I don't have a portfolio on my website. But as I have kind of realized, having this conversation with a few people that and having a conversation with yourself, that I think it would be important for me to maybe vocalize and visualize that on my site somewhere, maybe in a blog area, or I could have a bit of a spoof portfolio site that actually just goes into a big ranting soapbox like I just did now about why I don't have a portfolio and show you. So then you actually look at the range of work.
Hang on a second. You're getting some core endorsement here. Spot on. What clients like looking at may not be what they need to represent them.
Exactly. That's it. You said that in a lot less words than I did, but that is what we're talking about.
Very good at that, Tim is. Very good indeed at that kind of thing. So tell us a little bit
when
about,
you do look at some of the kind of work.
Go on.
Sorry, I spoke over you then.
It's fine. Go ahead.
What I was going to say is, when you do look at the kind of different clients that I've worked with, which is why I may do a piece somewhere on my website so people can see it, I think it helps show and prove my point that the work I do is very different depending on who I've worked with. I don't have a designer style, which is quite unusual, again, which is probably what makes me very different to other brand strategists and designers out there, because a lot of designers do have design styles. And there are many people that teach you that perhaps as a designer and a brand strategist, you should have a style, because that will help certain clients identify you as the right person. But I don't like doing what I'm told. And I don't think that that's the right way to do things. So I don't really have a brand style. I work mostly with people who are quick decision makers and say it as it is. So that's who I work best with. And they could show up in various different visual styles. So I like to work individually with each person to kind of create their own unique brand style.
Well, so what I've really heard, and I'm going to wrap us up because, sort of we could natter for ages and ages, and I know that for a fact. But, what I'm hearing is that it's never too early to work on your brand. Your brand evolves. The brand absolutely needs to represent you more than it needs to actually represent them. But there does need to be a nod to them for sure, because it's all about what you want to be known for in that way. And the time to really work or plan on your brand when you're first beginning is to keep gathering, but definitely have a brand of sorts that you can start tweaking. Then when you're established, whether you're doing new products or you've got new things coming up, that might be a great time to rebrand and or at least refresh in some way. And also when your core messaging really sort of starts to shift, or even some of the messaging around it would be a great time to sort of rebrand. Have I missed any? What else are you going to be talking to us about around, because and you need to start with the brand audit, which I believe you're starting with in Brand Together, right?
We are, absolutely, yes. Yeah, I mean, even if you're not established in your business already, a brand audit is always a great place to start, because it gets you just kind of thinking about the various ways that your business actually shows up. Because when you start to dig into, okay, what is a brand and what do I need to focus on when I'm thinking about my brand, all of a sudden you start realizing that you show up in so many different places that really need to come together to be that brand and show up as what you want to be known for. But there's no right or wrong answer really when it comes to when's the right time to rebrand. If your business and your brand isn't quite feeling the way that you wish it to, if you're not attracting the right kind of people, if you don't feel that you are creating the kind of impact and income that you want in your business, then those are some real telltale signs that you need to look at your branding. And whether that's doing the internal work yourself on a lower budget and going through kind of a DIY option, and obviously coming and joining me for Brand Together, we can do that together. Or if it's kind of investing.
I don't think you've actually said when it is. So when is it, Dee?
Okay.
I put the link in so people can check it out. But tell people when it is.
Well, we kind of have a bit of a pre-event doors. Registration is open now, but will be a little week of kind of welcome week and getting people into a Facebook group where we'll start to build the community. That opens on the 20th of September. Right. And then the live sessions where you will come and actually kind of do some brand work with me. We're going to go through the audit. We're going to go through a lot of those kind of core questions, the signs you need to rebrand, look at the questions, things that you need to answer, get some real clarity and confidence within your brand, so that by the end of the week together that you'll have a clear, solid brand plan for what you need, actions that you need to take within your business. That starts on the 27th, and that week will be a whole week for you to ask any questions, share anything with me. I'm basically yours for that week. I've cleared my week that week. Kids will be at school full time, and I will be around to help us brand together. And I do believe you're joining us, aren't you? You're going to be in there. You will be in the group.
So I'm certainly going to be popping in and out and just actually looking, just because we know that as one of our, Speaker Insight approved partners, you are someone that we would always refer people through to because of that capture of the unique voice, and really as speakers, authors and coaches who really do want to make a difference out in the world, like in a change the world kind of way. You do need someone stand out in order to work on, or guide you, or just actually prod you a little bit now and then, which I know you're very good at, to help people along with brand, particularly those people who aren't necessarily visually as on it as other people might be, which is good. So I put the link in there for any of you who are going, oh, I haven't even managed to get to that bit yet, or I'm stuck on another bit of the business. We've obviously always got the Get Unstuck calls. So please book in with a little 15-minute fix with me. I love to find out what you're up to, and I love to lend you my beautiful business brain. I say that humbly, just to actually work out what's the next step, because who knows, it might be branding, it might be something entirely different, but don't stay stuck is what we always like to say. And of course, I am really excited, so I am going to toot the bell again for the Clarity and Connection networking session next week, because I can't wait to hear what actually shows up and how many people can actively help everybody else. But for now, I just want to say thank you to you, Dee, and I love it when you do your impromptu little kind of Facebook lives and top tips, etc. So I think for those of you who've seen Dee do those inside the Connection Hub, you're going to get a whole bunch more in the Brand Together. So yeah, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's always fun to come and natter with you, and it's good that you know how to wrap things up and get me off, because otherwise I'd be
because I'm very, very, very good at that. And on that note, I'm going to stop this doing what it's doing, but play this out. Here we go.